And you are live.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Okay. This is a meeting of the HDC on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we have a little thing that we have to read to say about meeting and the open meetings that we have. As a preliminary matter, this is Diane Coombs, chair, acting chair, and support staff and all. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call you name, please respond in the affirmative. First one is Val.
I hear.
Very good. And I believe you said Abby Camp.
Yes.
I here.
All righty. And me, Diane Coombs. I believe that's all we have at this moment for
Yes.
the agenda. And staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kathy.
Present.
And is Holly here?
No, she is not.
Okay. I remember she said she was going to be gone. And Kadeem here?
He is not either. It's just me.
Okay. So, and we don't have any anticipated speakers on the agenda at this moment, right?
No.
All right. So, good afternoon. This open meeting of the HTC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in the publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted in with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the HTC is convened by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town website, which identifies how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folk may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town website, unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, the chairman, notes otherwise. So we are now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude the remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motion. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And for any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. And what is the last? Here it is. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the floor, taking care to identify yourself. And anything else has to do with public comment, which we are not doing right now. So we are ready to begin. And we look at the agenda, and I'd like to have a motion. We don't have anything we have to take out, right, Kathy?
No, we don't, Madam Chair.
All right. Except 1 and 2, which we are holding until on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Bills, business. We are holding those 2, 1 and 2. Can I have a motion to do that, please?
I don't know if I can. make
No,
the
Val
motion.
will have to recuse, so it will just, it will just be, I don't think we
Ab-
can right now, Val.
What
Right.
is the motion to, for new business carried over from 22?
To
Yes.
hold
But
new business carried over from 22 until next Tuesday.
Okay,
you
that's
don't-
my motion, Madam Chair.
Yes?
Point of clarification, you don't have a quorum to do that. Do you need,
Oh,
I don't know. Can't you just,
this is the first
can't
time.
I do it? We have a quorum, but we didn't.
Stand by.
Why don't we skip that and go to old business?
Okay,
you can't hear
Yep.
it anyway because we don't have a quorum.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. So yeah, just, it'll be held over by default.
Let's go right
Okay.
into old business, Diane.
okay, let's approve the old business agenda then, please.
So that's my motion.
Okay,
Approve the agenda for old business.
Val,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
and me is an aye. Thank you. So now we start with Mary O'Connell at 8 Center Street, Sconset.
So Madam Chair, it looks like TJ is not on the call, on the Zoom meeting right now.
Okay, well, we could hold until representation.
We
Okay,
also
that's
don't
the-
have a quorum. Because Abby recused.
What?
Are you talking
Yes.
about the first one?
No, I'm not
Yes.
recused.
No, she's not.
Says
It says on our agenda,
It says alternate.
she's an alternate.
recused.
It says recused none.
Oh.
She was an alternate on that.
Okay.
So either way, TJ isn't here.
Okay, so we will, if I could get a motion to hold for representation.
So
Okay,
moved,
so
Madam
moved.
Chair.
Abby. Okay, Abby,
Aye.
Val,
Aye.
me, I. So the next one is landscaping, 10 Sheep Common.
Yes, and
Pool
we
and
do have
retaining wall.
Alicia is here for.
Okay,
Alicia Ray.
thank you. Hello, hello.
Aye.
Would you like to tell us what's going on?
So regarding the question of visibility and how the retaining wall works and whether the pool or wall would be visible from the trail system in the meadow behind the house, I walked out of the trail from behind the water tower and went around the whole loop. And you can see as I come around, the pool is always going to be below the grade. I've included a section which shows, I think you may have passed it.
Was it the first one
It was on
after the
the first-
minutes.
Oh, here
Right
we
there.
go. Yep. Nope. Past the pictures. And
Oh,
on the right hand side of the big, there, right there.
Okay,
And it shows the grade of the meadow coming up. And that's where the wall happens. And then the pool is set down under the wall. So this picture is taken from where Milestone Crossing. At the circle, I walked in probably 100 yards and looked back at the house, the lower picture on the site photos page. And then if you scroll down slowly and you see the section through wall and patio, it shows that from that point, which you
Right.
could see, none of the wall would be visible, but it would step down to the patio where the pool is located.
So it would be very difficult to see.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's very helpful, Alicia. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Val, you want to start?
I believe with this information and her drawing showing us what's happening there, it has allayed any concerns I had.
Okay. And Abby?
I'm allayed as well.
Me too. So may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Madam
Awesome.
Chair.
Alrighty. Abby,
Aye,
okay. Val on your own motion.
Aye.
And I also aye. So that is approved. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty. The next one is Matt's 24 Woodbine. There's
Madam
two.
Chair, if I may, the first two for 24 Woodbine were from new business from last week. And Matt requested that they move them with the old business so you can look at them together. So there is no established board for the number for items 3 or 4.
Okay,
All right,
so we have got a 3 board.
yeah, and Matt's coming on right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
this is the one we decided.
Yeah, well, actually,
Yes,
I think
Matt.
the chairman and the board suggested that we hold these so that they be viewed with the main dwelling. So I don't know if it makes sense to look at the main dwelling, because I think that was the comment that the board wanted to see kind of all the structures.
So Matt, did you want to look at the old business main dwelling or the new business main dwelling?
Well, there's one main dwelling and then which is,
Yeah. Okay.
and if you want, and if it's okay, Madam Chair, I actually have some 3D renderings. If I could present some images through a screen share, would that be helpful? And then that
Yeah.
might kind of round out the whole project.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it would be very,
Okay.
yes.
Let me do this. Screen share. Okay, so let's go. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through. There's an aerial that I think is probably the most telling. So a couple things. One is the previous iteration. I'll just kind of run through the bigger picture items. We actually had this garage actually attached to the to the structure. This structure here was actually attached to via a breezeway to the main dwelling. And I think that a lot of the board members basically said that it was kind of making the house look a little bit long, and would we consider detaching it and potentially rotating it. And so that's what we've done. And so you can see that it's a separate, it's not connected anymore. And I think it was a great suggestion. 2 is the board asked us to consider alternating the driveway. We had shown previously a straight shot into the house and then a circular driveway. We've since engaged Mirka Ahern, and she's come up with a great plan for us, and that'll be shown on, you'll see that on the drawings as well. But basically the curb cut, and I think Val, this was your suggestion, which is a great suggestion, kind of coming in from the side. as opposed to a straight shot. And so we are proposing to do that. And then you'll also see that she has a number of trees that are lining that driveway so that the visibility from the road is fairly minimal. We did take photographs of the neighborhood, and a lot of the structures are pretty screened from, from the street. And so that would be conducive to the rest of the, to the neighborhood and the immediate surroundings. So you do have some pretty good sized houses, but they are kind of tucked behind a lot of the trees here. So I just thought that this was relevant, that it was a great suggestion. And I think it's going to help us out quite a bit. Again, minimal visibility. So as far as the structures are concerned, the two that were submitted originally were the main dwelling and then the garage. And then subsequently, we are also before you today for what we're calling a second dwelling, which is really a pool house / guest house. We're calling it a dwelling because it does in fact have a single bedroom on the second floor, but it does function more as a pool house, and it is located behind the main dwelling. And then the fourth application is for a small zoning shed, which basically is on the other end of the pool. And the idea here is to create just some privacy for the backyard of the pool. This lot is one of the larger lots on Woodbine. And so, but having said that, I think that the house is well within keeping of the, the immediate context of all the other houses in the area. So I just thought that that would be helpful, Madam Chair and other board members, just to kind of get some sense of what the, what the overall picture is. As far as the house is concerned, I can show you some of the changes we've made, but those are really the larger ones. I thought these perspectives were helpful just to give you a sense of both the new landscaping that we've included as part of as this presentation, if you will, and some of the minor changes that we've made throughout the process. So
No, I think it helps. It really helps to give you the picture rather than just seeing it.
Yeah, I find
Black.
it really helpful certainly for us, and scale as well too. So anyways, with that, I will stop sharing, and I'd love to hear the board's comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, let them
Alrighty.
reflect Stephen Welch has joined the
Stephen?
meeting.
Okay. Very good. He's on this too, so that is good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
All right, so we'll start with Abby.
Yeah, I love it. I just wanted to take a brief look at the site plan because I just want to orient myself. Oh, yes.
This is the guest house.
Matt, what would you like to see first then? Because the guest house is listed first before the shed. For
It's
the
totally at the board's discretion. I think that whatever order they feel is most appropriate.
Can
It
I
might
see
be
the
helpful-
upper locus map first, please? The one just above,
Right here?
yeah,
I
that
can
one.
zoom in.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, so it's Surfside?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All
It's
right.
off-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great, it looks like it's appropriate architecture for what's around it. It just seems to be what's happening out there. So I'm okay with the design.
Point of clarification, what would you like me to pull up first? The new dwelling or the guest house, which is in front of you right now?
I think it might be helpful, again, Madam Chair, like to maybe look at the main dwelling, and then we can kind of go to the other secondary structures.
Okay, sounds good.
Is this one it?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a question for Matt. Matt, the stuff we're going to look at is what you first submitted for a site plan, correct? So it's not reflecting the sweep in.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Val. So Mirka has probably within the last week, I think, sent us her landscape plan. And so at the time of the submission, we hadn't received that, but as part of that supplemental 3-dimensional imagery that I just sent you, it did show it. So to correct. It is not reflective of the landscape plan. Thanks.
Okay. So, Val, are you finished, Abby?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, she just looked at the guest house and now we're looking at the main house.
Yeah,
so-
I was just orienting myself. I didn't know where it was.
So,
I think Matt wanted to do the main house first.
Sure, and
Yeah.
I can walk you through some of the minor changes to the main house. And Stephen, we had just kind of looked at some 3D imagery, which I can jump back to if you want. So a couple of comments. One is we did previously have the garage attached via a breezeway to the front elevation. We have since completely detached it and rotated the garage 90 degrees. And so that is gone. The other change, if I could keep on that, just drawing one on this sheet really quickly, Kathy, is that we had previously had a bump out off the front of the building. And on the subsequent elevation, you'll see that it was looking a little vertical. So we took the square footage from the front of the structure and ran it around to the side of the building. So we've kind of added this one-story element on the left side. So it actually kind of, slowly builds up and then builds back down again. And then I think we can keep scrolling down because I think the rest of the changes are fairly minimal. There it is there on the south elevation. We just add that one-story bump out where previously it was a story and a half. I think there were some comments that it looked a little bit too, vertical. Again, this is a story and a half structure. And we, obviously, it'd be great to have, 8-foot second floor plate heights, but we have, lower plate heights to kind of drop the scale of it. So those are the majority of the changes.
Thank
we did actually change the plate height because we did actually have some headroom conflicts in some areas because the plate height was so low. We did bump it up, I think, by roughly 6 inches because we were running into some headroom issues. But in general, the overall concept is to have this eave line be very low. And even though it's probably not going to be overly visible from a kind of a side road and surf side. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Val, did you comment?
Sure. I think it's a nice looking house and I appreciate the lower height. I think it's less than 27 feet. And with the landscaping, if it's as you described, Matt, I think that's going to mitigate the impact of this, being so large. Because that lot right now is wide open, so it's hard to imagine it that way. But
I know.
I'm fine with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Steve?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Matt, I appreciate the 3D. I agree with the comments that have been made. If I may, I'll just say that I think the landscaping, good implementation will make this more about the people who are living on the lot and enjoying it versus our, a vision of the home. But it's not that a vision being able to have this house be visible would be a bad thing. It's a nice design. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Steve. I think the 3D drawing, as you know, Matt, I think was a big help. I like the redirection of the driveway going in and the planting around it. The only thing I wondered about was in the dormers, like on the west elevation, which I've got here, are small. I wondered whether you could make them a tiny bit bigger. They seem to be sort of lost in the middle of the dormer.
I could make them flush dormers and make them a double hung, if that makes sense.
Would that be good?
I don't know.
Particularly
I think it's good as it is. I think it's really passable. So
Madam
I think-
Chair, if I may, I think one of the subtleties that's not easy for us to pick up in these drawings, I looked at them on my big screen and it's easier to pick up, is the transition between the first floor and the second floor has the shingled curve treatment,
Yeah.
Curved shingle treatment.
Mhm.
And I think that will assist with the size of those dormers. And conversely, if they were larger, I think it would make it seem kind of busy. I don't know if that helps, but having looked at that close up, I thought you might want to know.
yeah, I agree.
No, I think that's good. Okay. I was thinking that was a good idea. It's just, as I looked at it, seem to have a lot of size, but it fits in very well, and I think it will be very good there. It is really the same size as a lot of the houses tucked in around Woodbine. So can I get a motion on this
I'll
particular?
make a motion to approve, Madam Chair. As submitted.
Thank you. As submitted, thank you. Abby,
Aye.
you did that. Val,
I want to say aye, but I just have a question.
well, ask your question.
I'm not supposed to, though. We're supposed to talk about the motion, right?
Well, if it's
Well,
related to the house,
it-
it's related to the motion.
Yeah.
It's related in that, I vote to approve, but could Matt change the front door? Nothing lines up, the glass size of the side lights and the front door, or,
I could make it a 2-panel front door for the time being. Is it the side lights or is it the 4-light?
no, it's the side lights. You see how they don't line up with
Anything.
anything?
Sure. I could have the 2 upper lights line up with the upper lights, or I could just have how about I line up the glass in the door with the side lights? The buttons line up.
Yeah, something.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay,
So.
All right, I add that to my motion.
all right. So Val, are you ready?
The side lights line up with the windows in the door.
Or vice versa, something
you.
lines up. I'm good with that motion. Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
All right, and I say aye also. So that is approved.
All
Matt.
right. Thank you.
So now are we doing the garage or the shed?
It's totally up to you. I think maybe the garage, just because it's probably the second largest structure.
Okay. So tell us about what you've done with the garage.
I'm at HTC right now, so can you call the office? I think so. So again, Madam Chair, and to Val's great point is we just omitted any landscaping on the site plan because it's forthcoming. But the front of the structure, the east elevation is what would face the road, and it's been rotated. One suggestion that I looked at after we had submitted, which I think the board might agree with, is the notion of potentially taking this eave line, and I can run it all the way across like this. I've kind of looked at the model a bunch and there's just no reason to do it. I just feel like it's just screaming for it. So anyways, but other than that, it's a fairly simple structure. Again, I think it was a great suggestion to, detach the structure and have it set slightly forward. So it's an independent structure. It's not attached to the main dwelling and making it feel longer. So the other thing we also did too is we did have a cross gable design previously, and I felt I think that some of the feedback we received from the board was to go to a shed dormers front and back, and we've done that.
Okay. So your proposal is for them to think about whether you could continue the eave on the north elevation all the way across, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Steve, do you want to begin?
Sure, I have no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Abby,
No, yeah, ditto, no concerns.
Val,
I think the changes are great. Thank you, Matt.
Yep. Thank you.
I do agree with that also. So could we get a
Motion to
motion
approve.
to approve?
Adding
Thank you,
that piece of roofing below the 3 windows on the north elevation. However you say it, continue that roof
Eve
across.
line.
Eve line, thank you. Under those 3 windows.
Yep, I know. That's very good. That would be good. So, Val,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
and me, I'm also an aye, so that is a full 4 vote.
Thank you very much.
What about the shed now? Do we do that?
Yeah, I'd love to if possible.
Yep. Is this the zoning shed or another shed?
This is the zoning shed.
Okay,
And so again, this is in the behind this the dwelling, and it's primarily intended to provide both storage for just general storage, and then also provide a little bit of a protection, visibility from the pool, and just kind of define the outdoor living space. So again, it's behind the structure. It's 1 story. Tried to match all the trim details to the main house.
all right. So we'll begin with Val.
I'm fine with this, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Stephen,
Yep, it's appropriate. And I just wanted to comment, Matt, on that last one, the garage. Relocating that, I think, made a big difference for me and the massing. So just to have been clear in the discrepancy between my prior comments. Thank you,
Yeah.
Madam.
No, thank you. That was a great suggestion.
Abby,
Aye. Motion to approve.
okay. So Val,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so that again is a full board aye. Now, one other thing, do we have, is this second new dwelling, the little guest house?
Correct, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's in the back. And I think that's the last structure.
Right, so shall we look at that?
Yeah, again, that would, might as well, I think reducing your agenda would be a good thing moving forward. It's gonna get busy.
Yeah,
How do we do that, though?
I was just saying, that's what I was saying, not to wait to look at it. How do you do that? I have no idea. No idea. And I know how hard you all work. I know how much time you put in, and just as a user, I appreciate all your time. I know it's not easy. It's pretty daunting. So thank you.
You're welcome, Matt.
Yeah.
so what would you like to tell us about this?
So this is just, it's again, I think it's kind of a combination of a pool house / guest house. It's at the other end of the pool, opposite of the zoning shed. The 4 French doors, again, this whole structure is behind the main dwelling, but those do not face the road. They face the pool. Again, tried to keep it as low as possible, so that we're establishing a hierarchy on the property. So it's almost a 0 second floor plate height, or I think it's like 18 inches, something like that. All the trim details to match the main house and the other subsequent structures.
Okay, this is only 22 feet tall, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, so Stephen, do you want to begin?
Yeah, I have, the only comment I have is on the, I think it will be the south elevation. Matt, I think the circle window, it's got a nice charm, but it just seems to read differently, a little less refined than the pergola with the nice rafter end cuts, and just seems like there's something not quite.
I could omit the porthole and just do either like a 2-panel or just stick with the V groove.
Well, the other thing I was going to ask, because I forgive me, I didn't look at the site plan on this, is there any visibility of that door?
I doubt it. Just given
It's set back too, right?
Back. Okay,
Right
so
here.
no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Val,
I think it's nicely done, and actually, I like the little porthole here because A, nobody can really see it, and B, it kind of reminds me of an outhouse.
Yeah.
And that's the bathroom, so.
Yeah, that's the bathroom.
Abby,
I love it.
and
Let's
I
pass
do
it.
also, I I also do, and one of the other things that I appreciate, Matt, is the space between your buildings. Everything is not crammed together from sideline to sideline. It gives it a nice airy feeling as you would drive in there. And that really makes it very nice for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So can we have,
Motion to approve.
thank you, Val,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and Abby,
Aye.
and I am an I also. So thank you, Matt, very much
Thank
for
you.
all those. We've done that. Next, what is this? The Emeritus HTC meeting?
I had a couple that carried over
The
from
next,
last month. I
yeah,
think I might have
that's all
a
right.
court issue on a couple of these, but I think actually the 10 Beach Street, correct me if I'm wrong, but I may have a quorum issue or no?
With
no.
Ken, Oliver, and Welch.
Great.
You
Oliver
have a
and Welch.
short
We've done-
board.
I did, but that was before Steven showed up and I thought I didn't, so great.
Okay, and Abby, do you want to please be the chairman for these two?
Sure.
Okay. So we're starting with 10 Beach Street, the new dwelling.
Madam Chair, did you want the demo or the move dwelling?
Well, actually, if I could, Madam Chair, is that I think I might be, and we actually just kept the demo on the application just in case, but the current proposal reuses a portion of the existing building, so then it wouldn't be a demo. But for the sake of just not removing it in case the board felt differently, we just left it on. But technically the application is an addition and a renovation. So we likely, if the board is in agreement with our proposal, we would be withdrawing the demolition. It would not be a demolition anymore.
Oh, why don't we look at the drawing first then,
Yeah, that'd
the
be great.
proposed
Good.
architecture?
Yeah. So if I could, Madam Chair, I'll just I can kind of start. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
All right. So you're all familiar with this application. It's been a long road. And so the last meeting we had proposed to basically retain the front door, the existing structure, the front mass, if you will, and integrate it into the design. And so I thought that there was some positive feedback on that front. The other subsequent changes the board had requested was to omit the second floor deck and French doors, which you can see were in the previous HCC submission. That was obviously not something that we wanted to do because there are second floor decks facing the ocean, but it seemed that the board was fairly universal in their feeling on that. So we did omit that second floor deck. We also had an intersecting gable dormer and a smaller shed, and the board had suggested going to just a larger shed, which we've done. One thing to kind of keep in mind is that, if you wanted to, we could actually break it up into two, dormers, if you felt that was, better, a little bit more interesting. But anyways, we omitted the gable dormer, which was something that the board had requested. Beyond that, the exterior trim detail is reflective of what's on the original structure. And those are the changes that the board requested. That's what we've made. Again, I'd reiterate that we have dropped the second floor plate height significantly. It definitely has caused us some issues on the second floor. So this is a very, I actually don't recall off the top of my head, but the height of the building is 23 feet, somewhere in that range. The buildings on either side are taller than that. So I think both in terms of scale and context and retaining the original structure, I'm hopeful that this is in line with the board's requests. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Val, you ready?
Yeah, I do appreciate the changes you made, Matt. It's actually 1 inch shorter than 24. And I do appreciate the idea of the 3-foot save, but I'm just not sure that I'd really call that a save. So I think it's probably just something that will emulate the structure that was there. And let's see. I am not sure about the dormer. It seems kind of big, but I do appreciate you removing the decks and all the other stuff. So
I could break up that dormer, Val. I kind of felt like it was a little bit better with the kind of the larger and then the smaller myself, but we just wanted to really take all the board's comments and try to address them. But I personally like the, you could use the same dimensions as the previous submission in terms of the gable, just turn the gable into a shed.
yeah.
I like.
Let's see what everybody else thinks.
Sure.
Steve, are you ready?
Sure, Madam Chair. Matt, I appreciate removing the second floor outdoor living space. I would suggest, I have concerns, but these are the things that I would suggest. On your north elevation, I think I understand, you want a single floor level, but I would suggest that perhaps what you could do is pad up the lower portion of the existing structure, maybe 6 or 9 inches, and it would make this appear a little bit taller, which you could support, and it would help to break up this gable.
Yeah.
It would then maybe align with the beam, the fascia over the beam. It's not really a beam, I understand. It's on the shed side, but you get what I'm saying, on the covered porch.
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
That would be helpful there. Overall, I'd say 2 things. One, it's a nice design, but I do believe that it's too large by probably 30% in every direction for the side streets in Codfish Park.
Really?
So thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there anybody else on this?
I think it's
Diane?
No, I'm not on it. Otherwise, I would be.
No.
sharing.
That's
That's
it?
Yes, that's it.
So what do we want to do with this?
Madam Chair, could I make a
Sure.
suggestion based on the board's comments? I mean, I think they're all great. One suggestion I would say is I could go back to the 2 dormers here. And then I think Stephen's point, which would be great, is if we could raise this header piece up and even make it, like slightly wider. I think that would, because that was the one struggle of, trying to take this literal existing piece and, adding it. And I think that proportionally that the design could work if it was like a little bit taller, like you said, and maybe potentially even a little bit wider, which I think is great, but it's totally up to you. And as far as the size of it, I literally photographed every structure in Codfish Park. And, I think that this is in line. I mean, I really genuinely do. So, but I'm happy.
It's not me.
Matt, where was the gable that you wanted to make into a shed? What elevation is that?
Well, it's actually, I already did. This was the previous, sorry, let me just erase these lines here. This was the previous, it was a gable dormer, right? And then it was this kind of smaller shed. And I think the board everybody basically said, get rid of the gable, just make it a shed. And so my suggestion was, we just made it one larger shed dormer. And my suggestion would be to just keep the same dimension. So basically this would be a shed. And then you would have a smaller shed next to it.
Damn it.
So, do we have a motion to hold for revisions then?
Well, I wanted to make another comment.
Oh, absolutely, Val, go.
I like the idea, Matt, of that with the dormers breaking up. I think, on the east elevation, it looked nice with a gable, but it's what's facing the road. It just made it seem bigger, which I think is the reason for that. And then my other question would be, what is the floor to ceiling height? Perhaps you could make that back to a more standard floor to ceiling height. That would drop your overall height and you wouldn't have to adjust anything.
I could certainly.
And I think making this bump out wider and changing the pitch, it's a demo then.
Right. So I think what I could do, and this is a potential solution, is because, we're moving it, I could actually, and we talked about going to a mud sill, I could actually remove the floor on the retained portion and actually just increase the shingle length on the bottom so that it does. So I'm not altering that roof at all. I'm basically extending the length of the wall on the bottom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's actually what I was suggesting, a look,
Okay.
the ultimate outcome. The method I think you propose is certainly acceptable in my mind, but no,
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I wasn't suggesting altering the width or the roof pitch. Just
Okay.
to the bottom, pad that up to make it taller.
Gotcha.
Okay, my 2 cents on this is still on that east elevation, is to put a panel in those bottom French doors. It's just that they look, it would be a little more Codfish Park-y to have the panel a little more sort of,
Okay.
I don't know.
I can make those changes.
So do I hear a motion to? hold for
Yeah, I mean, I
revision?
think he's almost there.
Yeah, I do too. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. And then I could do this at the office, but if that's the case, I will be withdrawing the demolition.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay, who made the motion?
Can I just ask a question, fellow board members?
Yeah,
Do you think retaining 3 feet of this structure, 3'6", is keeping it from being a demo?
Yes.
who said that?
I don't know who said that.
No, I'm just asking. I mean,
Look, I'm not going to vote for this, but I think in the spirit of being a good commissioner, to be clear to Matt, I think Val asked a good question. And I think, Matt, you would really probably want to amend your existing demo move off to a partial demo, because it really is what it is a partial demo. And then your paperwork wouldn't get you hung up later on. I mean, I presume it will get approved based on the acceptance of the replacement structure, but
So maintain the two applications.
yeah, and revise the demo move off to a partial demo. And then for the record, I think that would be helpful because we would get a revised set of drawings that show what the historic structure was, what's being changed, and it would be on the file for us nerds, whoever goes in there and takes a look at that stuff 20 years from now.
I kind of think that retaining the old structure there, which has sort of, I mean, this is, the whole design has come out of this. I mean, if you were to own this house and you can say, this was the original structure, you're standing in I mean, it keeps the history as awkward as it is, which is Codfish all about. In answer to Val's question, I think keeping it true is something of merit.
So is the motion to hold for revisions and including the demo move off application updated to revise and reflect what the changes will be?
Yes.
Mhm.
Is that your motion?
No, I was just clarifying.
No. Ugh.
Val, is that your motion? I think we lost.
I guess so.
All right, I don't hear a lot of enthusiasm, but I can't make a motion.
Well, I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouth. I'm just trying to bring it to a conclusion. If that's not something Val's comfortable, I don't want to suggest it.
Wouldn't it just be a motion to hold for revisions?
Yeah.
Right,
And then I just had a question about what's actually getting retained. I mean, I appreciate it because it does harken back to that. I just don't know that it's actually saving anything, but
Val, did you want to retain more of it somehow? Like, you say it, how much are we retaining? It's 3 feet in?
Yeah, it's about 3 feet. It's about 3 feet. And again, I think that this is a great solution in a lot of ways. I think that the addition portion, which represents probably, 80% or, 85%, I think complements the original structure. And so I think, in my opinion,
it's just so symmetrical and perfect. Like Codfish Park is always so kind of wonky.
yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm happy to share it was very interesting because, obviously this has been a long journey, and, I literally have photographed every house in Codfish Park. And it's funny how, and at least for me, my cognitive perception of Codfish Park, I kind of found myself projecting a lot of, history, and there is, but if you really go through every house, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's some, and it's not, it's not as consistent. And I know that that's part of the what you're saying, but I would also say it's not as quirky too. There's been enough there. And I think that this, to me, I mean, what greater story could you tell in terms of an existing retaining this really anomalous structure? If you really think about it, it's not really indicative of anything. And we're really making it the facade of the house. And I think that the reason it works is because the surrounding house has to be somewhat quote unquote symmetrical, even though we do have this porch that alters it slightly. So I don't know. I think given all of the comments of the board, the Sconset Advisory Board, reverence to the existing structure, whether it's deserved or not, I don't think we could have done more, or anyways, in my opinion. So.
Well, let's, let's come back and see those revisions then.
Okay.
That, add some, do the shed, the second floor dormers.
Sure.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I may, the advisory boards didn't meet this week to review old business applications. So just so you know, they didn't get a chance to look at this.
all right, well, maybe that will get some more feedback. We're almost there, Matt. Can you hang in there?
I can hang in there. I mean, the one thing I would just say, and while I appreciate the Sconset Advisory Board's comments, I get concerned that I can get stuck between the two boards, and if we're trying to address one board versus the other. So I'm happy to do that. I think that you've given me some excellent feedback. I think we came up with a great solution about a way to align those headers without demolishing the original fabric. And I think the partial demolition plan is really smart too, because it allows us to document the existing building and retain as much of it. So I think I know what I need to do, and I look forward to seeing you again on this project and hopefully bring it over the finish line.
Appreciate you working on it. So Val,
yeah, I mean, Matt, I agree. You're 98% there, really. You've brought it down to a more manageable scale, and
yeah. Okay, well, I don't want to waste any more of the time. I know you guys have other stuff to do, so I'm pretty clear on what I have to do and ready to do it.
yeah, and Val's ready to make a motion.
to hold for some revisions.
There it is. Steve?
Yeah, I'll vote aye on that.
Okay, and I as well. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we do, Kathy, what's the story on 11 Davis Lane? We're doing it or we aren't?
Kathy's muted.
I'm sorry. You have a quorum, or the applicant has a quorum. And there
Okay.
are a few people that are here to, just wanted to make sure. I have a few people that are here to address 11 Davis. I'm not quite sure who the phone number is, 914-471-1457, if they're to address 11 Davis as well, but Maureen Gagliano is here. So just so you know, there's at least one.
All right, we'll have Matt do his spiel on the Cabana, starting with the Cabana, and then we'll find out who's talking, okay?
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Okay, Matt, let's go.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. So, sorry, I thought the pool was coming up first. So basically, we relocated the Cabana. You can see Mirka's revised site plan with the pool, which she's going to represent. But obviously, the pool location has been pulled as closely as possible to the main dwelling, and the new Cabana location is essentially behind this rear porch and behind the garage. And so again, I know that what we try to do is actually locate it in a, the least visible location. We did look at a number of different options in terms of, enclosing the structure. One of the issues we run into is that the more we enclose it, the more it becomes quote unquote ground cover. And we will run into issues with the zoning enforcement officer down the road. So we did make some revisions to the Cabana, but the key I think is the location. It's essentially behind the covered porch of the rear of the structure and behind the garage. So I think that in terms of the visibility, it's about as minimally visible as we could really get it. And I think, so hopefully that counts for something. Two is we try to simplify the structure as much as possible. We do have a outdoor shower behind it. I would also like to point out, and this plan is great, we are planning to bury or put the mechanical equipment, the pool equipment, if you will, below the structure. So you won't visibly see it. What's more important, and this is in deference to the abutting properties, is that you will not hear it, or you certainly, it's significantly minimized because it is below the deck, if you will.
Is it below water though?
It should not be
No.
below water. No, that would be bad. It would be really quiet if it was below water. So as far as the design is concerned, we tried to increase, some more of the shingle area. We really struck that balance of trying not to have it be, too enclosed, because we don't want to run into zoning issues. And cottage corners, we did omit the 4-light gable end windows. It looked a little strange without it. Again, try to increase as much shingle area as we could. That's the back side of the structure with the outdoor shower. If we scroll down a little bit further, those are the previously submitted. And then you can see the south elevation. Diane, this was a response to some of your comments, is just in terms of just simplify it as much as we possibly can, shingled. There is a little bit of a countertop. But again, I think that when you reference the site plan, the structure is tucked behind the second floor. There's a second floor deck / porch off the back of the main dwelling, and this structure is in line with that. So I think from Trinity, it's we again should be obstructed. It's set pretty far back from the road, and I don't know. Again, try to really take everyone's comments, especially the neighbors and the HTC, into consideration. So with that, I'd love to hear what the board has to. What the board thinks, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Kathy, have we got somebody a neighbor who wants to speak?
Maureen Gagliano is standing by. I'm not quite sure who the phone number is, but I can ask them to identify themselves.
Okay, well, let's hear what
Kathy?
she's got to say.
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
this is Nancy, and that number 1457 is mine.
Oh, is this Nancy? Okay, so
Nancy from
we're not on you
Structures.
yet. Okay.
Yeah,
Stand
no,
by,
I know,
Nancy.
and I'm very new at Zooming, so
Okay,
forgive me.
thank you. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Maureen, you have the floor. You're muted. Let me unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay, yes. I looked at the changes and from what I could see, it looked like the cabana was still very large. The cabana with the shower behind it, and it looked like to me that there was a bathroom behind that on one side and something behind that, a grill, possibly kitchen area on the other side. So it seemed like the total square footage of the cabana and all those little buildings attached to it was still, I think it was like 18 or 19 feet in one direction, which still seemed really large to me for a structure that was becoming a little bit smaller. So that was one of my issues with the cabana. I'm really glad about the pool equipment going underground because we know from the neighbors that it's quite loud, and we also know the lights that are attached to it are almost spaceship-like next door. So it's great that it's going below ground. But the cabana, that's just what we're talking about right now, the cabana, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt it was still
Yes.
very large, a still large roof area and a large size area for being made smaller.
all right. Thank you. Thank you, Maureen.
You're welcome. Thank
Is
you.
there any other neighbor who wishes to speak at this time?
I don't see anybody on the call, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we'll go to the commissioners now, and we'll start with Val.
Thank you. I appreciate the changes. I do appreciate taking and making the corners, cottage corners. That's one less piece of painted trim to look at. And I would go so far as to also remove those windows in the gables because at night those are going to be lit up. It's just one more structure on a very open spot. And you know how I feel about things out there, but I definitely think the windows should go away and as much of the formal trim as possible. So the posts could be simple. The inside corner of the building could be just the cottage corner and a minimal little header trim piece there. Maybe drop the pitch slightly so that it does start to drop down a little bit more.
Okay.
I do appreciate that you've tried to site it in this very wide open space, which is part of the issue. To be mitigated from the street behind the porch and behind the shed, not to be confused with a garage because Marcus won't pass that.
Right.
So that's my comments, Madam Chair.
Very much. Steve?
Yep, I agree with Val's comments. And I'd like to see that 8-foot fascia come down to 7'6".
Okay. Abby?
What is can we go to the site plan where it is on the site plan? I'd like to see how big it is in relation to the, well, you should, okay. All right, proposed shed dormer.
I can zoom in if you'd like.
No, this is fine. I just,
Okay.
where is it referred to as,
Right here.
is it the red thing?
The red is what is closed in by shingles, but the roof is farther toward the patio.
Okay. And then the porch is towards the paving.
Yeah, like this here.
Okay. And
How do you do that? Steve does that too.
Yeah, annotate.
Annotate. It's like a part of the pull down menu.
Oh,
If you go to like the green banner under view options, there's a subhead that says annotate.
Thank you. I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find it.
There's all sorts of fun stuff.
So, getting back to the size of it, is there anything you can do, Matt, to decrease the size of it and make it?
I could certainly look at the overall length to that point. I can look at the length.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be good.
I could
Thank
definitely take a foot out of it. I mean, most of the things, I could change the pitch, take a foot of length out of it, and then drop the fascia to 7/6. Those are all definitely doable things.
Okay. I'd
What about
appreciate
taking
that.
out the windows?
I could do that. I could do that.
right.
Val, the removal of that second post, I tried to do what you were suggesting, and it just looked so odd because that header trim piece looked super heavy over the cottage corner. But I could, I don't know. I could
I'm
run
just
the,
trying to make it as simple and
Yeah.
weather in as possible.
right.
We'll leave that decision up to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, Stephen, did I ask you?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay,
The motion
so
for revisions.
that's good. Thank you very much. Val,
Aye.
Abby,
Are we holding for revisions?
Yes.
Yeah, aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you, Matt, very much. We'll go into the pool now. Smirka here?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair. I'm ready if you're ready. Thank you for having me. So to the basic, Matt already kind of mentioned the changes as I work through the site revisions. So first and foremost, the pool size got smaller from initial 18 by 44. It's 16 by 36 with spa in it, which is identical to the sizes which I got approved in a neighborhood on 1 Wall Street and 6 Davis. So this is the size which I worked and got approved in past by you guys, by your board. The second change or the request was kind of limit the area to be hardscaped. Again, I reduced the hardscape and pulled the pool closer to the house to really keep it close to the structure. Also, I eliminate partial boardwalk and just kept it in the back between the shed and mudroom and the pool area. The last, Matt mentioned already, the pool equipment would be located underneath the cabana. And lastly, was a little bit reconfiguration of the screening, which became a hot topic just because of the history of this project. So I did few rounds in the neighborhood, and if, again, I would like to create a screening consistent from just what it is already around. So if we can go through the pictures, number 7, let's say, that's the, it shows on the GIS map where the picture was taken. So it's right heading down to the Trinity. As you can see, there's right on that corner is pretty consistent screening of the pine, cedars, bayberries, viburnum. This is, which is right 100 feet away from this property. Moving to the picture number 6, well, let's go to picture number 3. So that's practically cross section of the Trinity and Wall Street. Again, looking backwards, so you can see the vegetation as it is of now. Again, we have some bigger pines, some smaller bayberries. Then the picture number 4 is looking down the Wall Street. In a distance, again, you can see the grouping of the pine, cedars, bayberries, viburnum, which are certain sizes. It's not everything just low. And then the last picture would be picture number 5. That's facing to the down the Trinity, the picture which actually is directly across my project. You again can see the mix of the pine, cedars, bayberries, viburnum. And the last picture is the picture past, the picture set 6, where, to your point, the vegetation is getting a little lower. However, in a distance, still you can see bigger pine, cedars, bayberries, viburnum. So if I may go back to the first page of the site plan, where I identify, and if you, Kathy, can zoom into, first of all, to the pictures on the, I think, right corner, which are the existing cedars which are already on site. Okay, so this is the first photo is the existing situation as of now. There are a bunch of big cedars which I would like to kind of reuse and help with the screening. Second picture is literally the property next to us, which has the mix of the pine, cedars, bayberries, viburnum, as I said. As you can see, this is really nice screening covering the ground floor, like, you know, and that's what we try to achieve with this pool and bring the natural vegetation back. So if I may move towards the site plan and kind of walk us through the planting itself. It was, again, I would like to keep the Cisco and what the feeling of it like open is to be part of this landscape. But at the same time, I would like to create little privacy, which again, it's very natural to the neighborhood we are at. So as you can see, I would like to use more pines and evergreen trees closer to the cross section of the Wall Street and Trinity, and then along the property line and to the back. And then once we move past the house, that vegetation would be more consistent from the bayberries, viburnum, which would be more lower and opening to the views. So it's a balance. So it's not the solid evergreen. Also, I try to group the evergreens, so it won't look as maybe as initial conceptual plan suggested, that it would be just a wall of the evergreens. It would be more like a grouping, so it would have some airspace. But again, it would be nice ground level screening of the back area of the pool. And I think that's where I would like to open for your comments. Thank you very much for letting me to present the changes.
Okay, look, tell me something, what it is, where the pool is on the south side. There's that little sort of ovally shape. Is that planting or what's in there? What's that?
Thank you. That's the planting. Yes. So I also bring more planting closer to the pool itself. So create like few layers of the screening. So yeah, that's
what is it?
That's directly at the pool would be a mix of grasses and inberries, which they can get up to 4 to 5 feet of height.
And the other part that I just wanted to ask you about, and then we'll go, is in your screening of the trees and the buffer and whatever, could we make it more natural so it wasn't a circle, but maybe some points came in? So that picture back a bit where you had that big lawn and then the screening, I think I'm reacting because they cleared that land completely. I would like to see some unevenness in the way that you plant so that it didn't look quite so formal, that arch. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you see what I'm talking about?
If I understand, you are asking for a little bit more of the not as perfect, like maybe line. You are looking maybe a little bit for more staggered line and edges, so it looks more natural.
Because I think that on that picture you've got that says natural buffer on Trinity Ave. There's nothing growing until you get to the vegetation. And I would just like to see it look a little more natural, because that's the whole point of Dionys, is that it's a wild growth with houses sort of planted in it. So that's why I was just interested to see if you could make that line not quite so even. That's all.
And that's easy. Also, just to, and I will stop talking and let the rest, just to kind of bring the elements to the equation. As you can see, even on all those pictures of the pre-existing vegetation, doesn't matter what we plant, the nature will do what she wants to do. And everything will start to be taking its own life over with each season. So, so it just, there's the 3D with the planting, which is unpredictable and beautiful because we just don't know what can happen. So if we give a big, nice base, and I really hope with the max mix and of the native plants in the neighborhood, we will achieve nice transition and revegetate and renaturalize this property. And I'm happy to make the site look a bit more organic.
Even because you've chosen a nice pair of plants, but we'll pick now. We'll go to Stephen.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So, bear with me. I got a couple different things up on the screen here. If we could go to the site plan, please.
Before Stephen starts talking, I just wanted to make sure that Maureen Gagliano, I think, wants to say something afterwards about this application.
Thank you.
I'll defer and let the public speak.
Okay. Maureen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I just wondered, looking at that plan, all the big circles, are those trees?
If I may ask, if you zoom in, every circle is labeled with the 2 letters. It's, let's say JV, it's juniper. If you go down on the bottom of the page, it's identify what JV stands for and show you the image of the picture. So on the bottom of the page, Kate, so every photo is labeled, pitch pine is PN. So every circle is referred to a certain plan.
So how many pitch pines and cedars do you have?
The combination, so I can quickly count for you. It's around 15. If I quickly, and again, it's around 15 combination pitch pines and cedar trees.
So a total of 15 of those 2 trees?
Yes, approximately.
Okay, because I know that the area does have those 2 trees native, and they're beautiful trees, but there are not any properties in the area that have those trees in a formal border around the perimeter of the property. So when you put them in an order like that, then you look like you're putting a border fence almost around the property, and that doesn't go with the rural natural feel of the area. The sense of place of the area here is more wild, and they have like a couple clusters of trees here and there, but not to that extent, except for 12 Westerwick, which has like hundreds of them. But they're not as prevalent, I think, as you have them in your plan, so that I think it will end up giving nice screening for the people on your property, but it will be a block of vista for the other people in the area. So I feel like Charlie Davis's original plan for the area was to preserve the vista for everyone. And the feel that we get in this area is more like rolling natural rural vegetation. It's more low growing. And I think there is an occasional tree, but not, I don't think there's that many. I think there's fewer. I love your choice of vegetation, but I think besides the trees, I think you have it in such a formal area, and there's still so much grass to be mowed. That's going to be like an extensive amount of noise and caretaking and watering and everything. So I feel like, the restoration grass is something that might be an option, because that could soften the transition between your grass and your formal plantings, so that there's less of a delineation between the lawn and the formalness of what you've got there. But it just seems like it seems to me like it's a very complex and complicated and very full plan for the area that had just a natural rolling random amount of plantings in it. It just seems more formal than I feel like the area calls for. Even though I love the choice of everything you've put there, it just, you've got so much.
Okay, thank you, Maureen.
I'm sorry?
I think, I was just saying thank you for your comments. I think that's what I was trying to do, and talking to America, of making it uneven and spreading it out a little bit so you didn't have that
Madam Chair,
really
could
long per
would
se.
it be okay to follow up if, I don't know what's the procedure. I just would like, if Kathy wouldn't mind to zoom in. I just want to clarify something, and just because I think it's really relevant to the conversation of the planting itself. If you don't mind, Kathy, would you mind zoom as much as you can, possibly without not being too blurry? This is perfect. If you can a little bit more. So just as a sample, and again, I just want to kind of just follow up, because I do not agree this is formal linear planting. Again, P and J, these are evergreens. As you can see, those are little pointy, has a little pointy graphic. Then PM is the beach plum. Kathy, if you don't mind to stay on the planting plan. If you zoom in, you see that JV and PM, which refers to pines and cedars, are really in little groups and really air planted. They are not in any way in a linear arrangement. They are mixed with the beach plums and winter berries. So again, I do not believe this is a linear arrangement. It's very natural. It's the way I've been working on many projects. So I just want to clarify that's that. So it's not, and I please you take a time, the board, I purposely make this planting plan as much detail, and I'm happy to color it in different colors to show you that this is really natural, not formal arrangement of the plants. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bertha. All right, so are we ready to begin? We have Steve, so
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. So I realize we're talking about a lot about plant material, but I think it's relevant to the aspect which is screening of the pool. So since we've been talking about the vegetation, I'm going to pick up on that. I think where I am with this is as it's indicated, it's a planted buffer. I acknowledge the comments Mirka's made, that in the sense that this isn't a formal planting. It's certainly not a London Library garden style with boxwoods, or even some of the privet we see around the island in Sconset that's a linear type of a grid layout along the property line. However, I think the whoever's not muted, maybe Joe, is that you? Could you mute, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Appreciate it. For me, the concern is getting a little bit more into detail. The border is, I agree that it can be allowed to become naturalized, but as proposed, it seems to me way too dense for the rural open space. It encloses the yard. It partitions that space from the street space, which I don't think is consistent with that area. And I think that, part of the solution is that while there are clusters of natural indigenous and plants that we come to think of as indigenous, I think there's two issues for me. One is there's too many clusters of too many different types of plants. In a naturalized setting, I think even looking at the images, you may see some bayberry, and then you'll see a pine coming up in the background, as opposed to seeing the bayberry, the winterberry, the viburnum, the pine, all mixed in the individual clusters, forming a dense border around the property. So for me, for the planting to be successful as a screen and to look naturalized, there would be less of it. I think strategically there needs to be some of it up and around the pool, and it needs to be such that you still see into the yard space, akin to what you might see from other homes. I understand the images that were presented, but I also note that there are many yard spaces out there that are open and rural. So I think we're headed in a better direction, but and no offense intended, Mirka, I think the nature of that general area needs to be better replicated. And I think you're headed in the right direction, but I just think there's too much of it. With respect to the pool itself, I think the location of the pool makes the size generally acceptable, but that is all subject to successful screening. So for me, I would reserve rights on comments on the future on the pool, subject to revisions to the screening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, thank you. Val,
I think Steve said it well. I actually, as you know, think this is too much of everything, so I have nothing more to add.
okay, thank you. Abby?
Well, I when I initially looked at this, I thought Mirka had done a great job not making it look formal. I thought that the vegetation she's chose, I've seen it out there, and I hate pools out there. I don't like formality, but I thought that she did actually a very good job choosing the vegetation and staggering them so that they look more naturalistic. So those are, I mean, I'm okay with it. So
Okay, thank you. As
Matt.
I talked to Mirka before about getting it more uneven, I think that the what's going to go in a clump, as Stephen has said, is important. When you enlarge the site plan, the planting at the foot of the swimming pool and the next little rounding thing are all the same. What is LG? What's LG stand for?
It says inkberry. Inkberry. Right
Inkberry?
here. Right here.
Ivy, yeah, inkberries.
Okay, yes it is. And when inkberry's going, how tall does that get?
They usually get around 6 to 8 feet. This is very exposed area, so none of this vegetation really will grow the same way how it would grow somewhere very protected. So the average of the beach plum and the winterberries will be around 6 to 8 feet. The bayberries, they can get around 5 to 6. Yeah, the pines and
Beach
cedars
plum.
around 15 at the best.
I think we would like to review at some time the planting again in certain areas. We're all fairly knowledgeable about the area and what grows. And I would think that's important if this is going to get passed. I think perhaps the inkberry is too much inkberry at the foot of the swimming pool, at least for me. So I would probably like to see something larger that we could see what it is and the approximate height, so we know what we're looking at.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This is Kathy. It looks like a neighbor, I believe Joe Gagliano joined in after his wife spoke. I didn't know if you wanted him to
Yeah,
allow
I
him
saw
to say
him,
a few words.
but if he wants to speak, please ask him to do so.
Okay, let me just, okay, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you,
Sure.
all members of the HDC. Again, my name is Joe Gagliano. I'm an abutter to this 11 Davis. We're at 10 Westerwick Way. And I'd just like to, I heard a lot of the comments, and I'd just like to reiterate some of them quickly. As you know, this property is at the conjunction of 3 main streets in Westerwick. It's basically right in the middle of Cisco. It's in conjunction with Davis and Trinity and Wall Street. And it's been brush cut, so it's really as flat as a billiard table out there. So there's a lot of visibility. And the 3 things I'd like to bring up is, number one, as we've talked about, the vegetation around the perimeter of the property. I wasn't sure what it was by a legend. I got some more clarification, but I would like to iterate some of what people have been saying. It's a low rolling moor area, and it's not to be surrounded by trees. It looks more like a castle if it is surrounded by pines or heavy height it brushes. And also there isn't. I remember Ray had mentioned previously about Ray Poole had mentioned previously about putting vegetation around the perimeter of the pool, and I just see it on one side. So there is no vegetation on the west side or on the east side. So vegetation for height, vegetation for screening some of the pool is an issue I'd like to bring up. The second one is the pool itself. The pool has probably been stated, has been reduced in size, but it's away from the house. It's almost like a standalone on the property with a patio that surrounds the house, and then bluestone that's on the western side of the house. So it really stands away in its away from the house being divided by bluestone and also by decking. And when you add the pool and the bluestone and the new decking around the perimeter of the house, it's a lot of ground cover. It's probably close to twice the ground cover of just the building itself. So the pool being brought in closer to the house would be better, I think, so it's not so alarming and visible in the middle of the property, as well as having some vegetation on the west side would, I think, give some barrier. So those are 2 of the issues I wanted to bring up: the size of the pool, the location of the pool, the amount of a square foot that is being covered by decking and bluestone and pool is really different from the sense of Cisco that's in the area. And the last thing I'd like to bring up is the Cabana. The Cabana had what was previously mentioned by the owner was they would put the mechanicals underground. I now see a place around the back of it that says the mechanicals are above ground. So that is a noise issue for Cisco. So that's the first issue I'd like to bring up with respect to the Cabana. The second is it's got a bathroom, it's got a shed, it's got a grill kitchen area, and it's got an outdoor shower.
Point of order, Mr. Gagliano, this is the pool application in front of everybody right now.
Okay, so I shouldn't bring up the Cabana now?
No, it's not. It's not before them
Okay.
at this time. Yeah.
Okay, then as I just mentioned, vegetation and the size and the location of the pool are, as a standalone so far away from the house is the issues I'd like to bring up, and I'll save the Cabana for later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks.
Okay, is that our last public speaker?
It appears
So-
so.
I don't know whether you would want to consider a, a restudy of the vegetation, where it is and its particular height in the size that we can see more easily and move it around. I think, to me, where the vegetation is and how it's going to mix in is important. Thing that I am, along with Val, as to having another pool there. So I don't know what anybody else would like to do, but let's consider what we think is the best thing to do.
I have a question, Madam Chair, for Mirka.
Yep.
I'm here, listening.
Mirka, you have an image on your drawing that says deck and pool patio, which shows a pool being cut into a deck. And we have talked about this idea out there before on another project. It seems to me a better solution. It could be nestled between the cabana and the porch of the house where it says lounge patio, and merely look like it's a deck at grade. And it wouldn't require as much screening as it would where it is now as an independent structure. So I just thought that was interesting. I just noticed that you had that there. And it's kind of an interesting idea.
Val, can I ask you a question? What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think about turning the pool and slipping it into that lounge patio?
Yeah, well, that's
between
kind
the
of
cabana.
what I was saying. It could be then between the,
Yeah,
I'm happy to revise and give them more information about the planting or make it more illustrative and take Stephen's comments into consideration if if I can do that for the next meeting. I like this. Well,
maybe we should have a vote for revisions, and Mirka would come up with a couple of different ideas, perhaps turning the pool and slipping it in there, and the location of the various plantings and what their height is, because I think that's important. If you have a inkberry which goes up to 8-9 feet tall, how wide is it? It makes the stuff out there is not that dense because of the weather that goes out there, and I think that's important, that it's set in such a way we don't lose plants because of the weather, because then we're right back to having it wide open. So what would somebody like to motion?
I think we should hold for revisions.
All right, thank you, Abby. Val?
I agree with that.
Okay, Stephen?
Yep.
Abby, on your motion?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. And thank you, Mirka. See what you can do. Answer the questions that we have and that the neighbors have. Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I remind you, you were all going to meet from 1 to 2:30 today. So it's
What-
2:40 now, unless you wanted to.
And I have to sign off, so I just want to
Me
let.
too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's adjourn the meeting and have the
Um,
11/17 go to Tuesday.
So move.
11 through 19, Madam Chair.
Oh yeah, 2 on the next page. Sorry.
And are we putting it at the beginning of the agenda for next week?
Yes.
Okay.
These people have waited long enough, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Abby, on the motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Val,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and I'm an aye too. So that we'll meet on Tuesday, and we will move 11 through 19 over to the beginning of the agenda of Tuesday. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Doodle do.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank everybody. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Kiss.